Dear young married couple, do you struggle to repair after an argument? And does the tension go on for days?
If so, we're going to break down those steps for how to repair after an argument and really smooth things out.
Yeah, this is something I think that we see a lot of couples struggling with in their marriages. And there are steps that people could take that could really help change the way they relate to each other after an argument.
So first of all, if you didn't see the last episode or listen to the last episode, go do that. We talk about how to really rescue an argument that's going nuclear or a toxic argument, toxic cycle that you're in. And we give you 5 steps for how to really rescue it. So what we're talking about now is now that you're calm, you're able to process things without getting back into the argument. Now you can go to these steps that we're going to cover here in this video.
Yes. So we need to be de-escalated. But then the step 1 for repairing would be really taking responsibility for the part you played in this argument.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very difficult one for most people to do that are human. If you're not human, it's probably really easy. But for people who have a little bit of pride in them, like me.
And me. And you.
Yes. We would just assume maybe, unless you're just an amazing human being. It's difficult really to take the responsibility. We said in the last video that we talked about with the timeout tool that we taught, just how we get wrapped up in our own narrative. We see that we're the right one here, obviously, and the other person is super off. They have no right to truth, or, their feelings don't matter as much as yours do here. And this is kind of just how we get very self-centered within an argument. And rightly so. A lot of people have been hurt. A lot of people have, pains and trauma and so many things, and maybe they have really good reason to be on guard because this person has gaslighted them or all these other things. But we're not trying to fix everything. Remember that there are so many different disclaimers that we can give here.
Totally. Yeah.
But for, let's say, a couple that's in a fairly good place, but tends to get and doesn't have deep hurts within the relationship or broken trust.
Yeah.
Taking responsibility is a huge deal.
Absolutely. And so if you find yourself in one of those other places that Adam just mentioned, there are other resources for you.
Yes.
So this video may not be the next step for you. It might be that you need to download our 5 steps when trust has been broken.
Yeah.
Just go to the resources page on our website. You can download it there. It might be that you need counseling. It might be if you're in an abusive situation, it might be that you need distance from your spouse. So, it just depends whatever situation you're in. Really try to understand the disclaimers that we're putting out there right now, and before you go any further. So this video is meant for, like we said earlier, those who have already listened to last week's episode and those who find themselves in a pretty good relationship, a pretty healthy place where you just get into conflict sometimes. How to repair when you're coming back from that conflict.
Right. And actually we saw a survey, or not a survey, but a study done that has said it's not the amount of arguments that you get in that determines your happiness, but it's how you handle them. And specifically, we would look at after the argument, or even maybe there's still an argument happening, and you guys took a break from it, decided to come back later. It's all about after you repair, how quickly can you turn your affection back on?
Right.
So many people we see, they turn off their affection for days. This is normally a couple it's been happening for a while and they can't seem to get a handle on what's going on. And this is where we start to get worried about the relationship, is when people turn their affection off
Right.
until a future date. And there is no they don't know how to turn that back on, but it's starting to damage their relationship.
Yeah. So step 1, own your part. Step 2, tune into your partner's feelings. So really try to acknowledge, and we ended the last episode with this, but acknowledge why they're feeling the way they're feeling and that it makes sense to you. Really validate that. And it doesn't make you wrong, just to validate that they're feeling the way they're feeling. And we gave a specific tool. It's called because, and it's how you can actually validate how they're feeling. So go back again to the last episode to listen to that piece.
Yeah. So taking responsibility for what you're doing and then validating how they must be feeling, how they are hurt. I go back to a recent argument between us. We might have shared this somewhere. I can't remember, but it's just helpful because I think we handled it really well.
I don't know which one you're about to share.
Oh, we've been doing this for 13 years, folks. So we've had practice. But so we were in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
And
we handled that one pretty well.
Yes, we did. We handle most of our arguments really well. It's just the ones we don't talk about. I'm just joking.
It's so fun. It's a funny thing to say. We argue well.
But the thing is everyone is going to argue.
Yes.
Every single couple, unless people are stuffing.
Right.
Right. Or
there's abuse.
Because
abuse. Someone's really dominating and controlling.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a healthy thing to argue.
Yeah. So the way we handled this, Karissa has a way of when things get hard, she just slaps the happy face on it and says, "Hey, we're all going to be happy. We're just going to push through this." And so let me give some context here. So we were in New York City and we're just having a good time. It was nap time. The kids were falling apart. And it was hard. We had a double stroller. We were like in the middle of, I think it was Chinatown or something, and couldn't get around everything. And it was just, and we couldn't find any food that we liked. And we like Chinese food, but we couldn't find food.
Yeah.
Don't get us wrong here.
Yeah, there was all we could find were hole in the wall places that smelled disgusting, like fish smells coming out.
Karissa is a scent person, and she does not like fish smell.
Yeah.
So, long story short, this is her way of coping with difficulty. It's we will stick to the plan. We will go to every single marker on our itinerary at the designated time.
We were trying to get to Wall Street.
And you will be happy. And for me, I'm much more go with the flow. Like, hey, if the kids are falling apart, we probably don't need to go to every single place on the itinerary. Let's just call it a night. Or call it a day. We had a great time. We made some great memories. Let's go make some more memories out at the hotel. That's my take on it.
And I'm like, these are going to be memories to last a lifetime. We're never going to regret that we went to Wall Street without a nap for the kids, but we will regret just giving in or giving up, right? Yeah. So that's my mentality.
So, and there's merit for both of us here.
Yeah, nobody's right or wrong.
Nobody's right or wrong. We could just, go home. We could also push through. But this is just our way of handling stress. Mm-hmm. And generally when it's kid stress, right? So we handled this badly. We were getting really frustrated with each other. And we started feeling bad feelings toward each other. I mean, we weren't being mean or anything, but it's just we were frustrated, stuff wasn't going the way we anticipated. Or we should say this, frustration is a result of unmet or uncommunicated expectations. Mm-hmm. So I had unmet expectations and she did too. Yeah. And we really weren't talking about it because we were supposed to be having fun. So my frustration comes out in pursue. Yeah. Let's have fun. Let's cheer everyone up. And then your frustration came out in withdraw. Yep. I'm getting more and more frustrated.
Yeah.
So how do we handle this? I think I was like, okay, we got to figure this out. We have to talk this through. Mm-hmm. I'm frustrated. She's frustrated. We both had enough of this, right? So I remember we finally found some food and I was like, all right, Adam. Now here's the deal. Most of the time that I apologize, I don't feel like apologizing. That's a big deal. I just know it's the right thing to do. I have enough confidence that when Karissa is apologized to and I take responsibility and I work through it, that she's going to do the same thing. She's not going to pile guilt on me or shame on me or try to like stomp me into the mud. I can have confidence there. So I try to take the step that needs to happen and do it well so that we can move on and figure things out. Because I like being connected to my wife. It's not fun being disconnected.
Yeah, you did really well. I mean, you owned your part, and then you totally validated my feelings. And, you know, you guys, that's a point to make there. Like, anybody can own their part first. Like that I totally can. And I do sometimes, but this was a good example of him owning his part first. And that was a way that he chose to lead. You know, like people ask, well, what does that look like when the man is the head of the house or they're leading their families? And this is one example of how that can look, that Adam led us by getting us out of that cycle. So I really appreciate it. It prompted me to own my part next.
Absolutely. You know, it's not always me leading that charge. Sometimes it's Karissa. But in that time, it was me, you know, stepping back and looking at the whole thing and trying to understand it, what happens. So that's the first two steps. Step 3 is bring back the affection. Damage happens when you don't bring back the affection after the argument. You're not going to teach your spouse anything by being cold to them for, you know, days or hours and hours.
And it's not your job to teach them a lesson.
Right. Bring it back. And I know the damage happens when people decide not to be affectionate. So even, you know, try to smile at them, try to reassure them. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit upset still, but I'm trying to bring this back around. Yeah. You know, reassure them that you're not trying to disappear on them for the next, you know, 5 days.
Yeah. Bringing back the affection can look like just a physical connection, like putting a hand on the knee. Adam will do that often for me. It makes me feel like we're connecting. I'm the pursuer, so for him to like take an action of pursuit really feels like we're connecting.
That took a while for me to figure out too.
So it could look like that, but depending on the situation, bringing back the affection could look like an apology. Sometimes it's not a situation that merits an apology. Sometimes you're both just sad about something that happened, or you're both just overwhelmed with the stress of getting out the door. So sometimes it's that. Sometimes bringing back the affection is saying, hey, we're a team. Let's figure this out together. Like, say the situation is, you guys keep on arriving late to church. That may or may not be the situation that happened for us.
Probably not.
So then bringing back the affection could be like, okay, let's figure this out together, babe. Okay, well, we could set an alarm when it's time to get ready for church. We could set an alarm when it's time to head out the door. We could put the kids' clothes out the night before. And so we start to like come onto the same team and figure it out together. We brainstorm that. Yeah. So step 3, it really varies what that looks like depending on the situation. But this is how you repair. You get on the same team and you bring back the affection.
Yeah. It's really trying to regain the level of affection you had before, or better, hopefully. Like if you guys did make amends, maybe you could do something extra that would show that you love that person and that you actually are happy that you're living with this person. It's so relieving when someone else, when someone that you love starts acting good towards you, right? And when you can act good toward them, like, things start going better again. Yeah. So
lovingly and with tenderness and connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, these are simple steps, but they're not easy. And I think every couple needs to kind of figure out their own nuances for their marriage. But I think most marriages that know how to repair have these elements present in their repair.
Yeah. And remember, back to the study that Adam cited earlier, it's not about how many arguments you have. It's okay to argue, but it's about how you handle those arguments. So if you're handling them well, it's going to look a lot like what we described in these steps last episode and this episode. So take notes, go back, listen to this with your spouse if you aren't listening with them right now, and take notes and talk about how are we going to apply these steps in our next argument.
Yeah. And maybe letting them in, this is, when you do this, it's easier for me to receive it.
Yeah.
I'd really like you to say the words, I'm sorry. Some people say, my bad. My bad might be not good enough for a person, so
Totally.
So figure out your nuances. What does that look like? And be strategic with it. Next time I'm going to try to incorporate these parts in. And hopefully your next argument will be quick and less painful, and you'll find more connection.
Yes. When you were talking about like the word I'm sorry, it reminded me of we did a whole monthly live date night on that. For how to apologize well.
Yes.
And it's different than like how to repair, right? We're talking about the steps to repair, but then specifically how to say I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. We did a whole date night on that. We also
whole workshop. Yeah.
Yeah. A workshop. We also did a date night on what you're really arguing about.
Yes. The dream behind the conflict. Mm-hmm. Seriously, what Chris is saying here is you need to be a part of our monthly live date night.
That's what I'm saying.
We don't talk about it a ton, but we put a lot of effort and forethought into where marriages need to be supported.
Yeah.
And we always have worksheets and prompts for you guys to talk about what's happening in your marriage. Mm-hmm. This was not in the notes to talk about it. But seriously, monthly live date night is $10 a month, or it's cheaper if you do an annual subscription. We meet one Friday a month for an hour and a half. We do the first section is all about whatever we're talking about, the topic, and then we leave it open for Q&A afterward. And it's always a great, great time with people all over the world. We have quite a lot of people that join us, mm-hmm. and it's actually become kind of a family on there. It's a lot of fun.
That is my favorite part, like hearing from each couple about like their successes and even, their hard times, and praying with them through those hard times. But really seeing how they're applying these tools and everyone coming together to support each other. Yeah. It's a really good group.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And you have access to all the past date nights if you sign up.
Yep.
So you guys could literally binge watch for a long, long time.
Yes.
On various topics, from your sex life to argumentation to repairing to friendship. Yeah, I forgot. There's tons of them in there, and they're really, I'm biased, but they're really good. They're super amazing. So.
Not because we're there making it amazing, but because we do have this community that comes together.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's pretty incredible. Also, we recently started having churches join us. And so there's a church subscription or small group subscription that you can do as well. If you have like a big group coming together or even a small group coming together that, you want to host a monthly live date night at your church or at your home. Yep. So check that out too. We'll put it all in the show notes for you.
Yeah, a good number of churches doing that and taking advantage of those resources. So join us. My goodness. Why not? $10. That's as much as a Venti now.
It's almost as much, or a gallon of gas is almost that much.
I know. We haven't even inflated the price yet. So come and join us. We always have a good time, and apply these on a serious note to your marriage, these tips. And we hope to, we'll see you in the next video or podcast.
Yes. Oh, sneak peek on the next podcast. We'll see. I think we're going to launch it after these couple of podcasts. But
yeah, we'll see if we can receive inventory from China.
Yeah. So we have a really, really neat resource coming. We've been working on it for over a year, and I would say it might be our best resource yet.
It's really awesome.
We'll see. But we are going to launch a series of podcast episodes with experts in the field from this particular resource. It has to do with more than just your marriage. We won't really share with what it is exactly yet, but it's going to be incredible. So you want to tune in to the next series of episodes. It's like 5 or 6, 7 episodes that really are going to hit home for a lot of people.
Yes. So now that your curiosity is going, we will say goodbye.
See you next time.